What's up, guys? This is my prediction for UFC Fight Night in Shanghai, happening this weekend. It's happening really early if you're living in the United States. Now, for this prediction video, I'm going to make it really short, so I'm just going to cover the Michael Bisping and Kelvin Gastelum fight, because this whole card are a bunch of unknown fighters, a bunch of newcomers, and a bunch of fighters that a lot of people don't know about yet. So if you can actually catch the card, this is a good opportunity to actually probably find some new blood in each division. And there's a lot of Asian fighters as well. There's not too many in the UFC. So this is a good card that could actually showcase some of these up-and-coming fighters. So this is a very interesting fight because Bisping just came off his title defense loss to GSP. One of the biggest cards in recent years, the biggest card of this year so far. And he did pretty well in it, but he wasn't in control for most of the fight. The only time he was really in control was off his back, throwing elbows at GSP. And he got dropped in the fight, He got hurt in the fight by GSP. He's coming straight away a couple weeks after fighting Kelvin Gastelum. So this is a really risky move by Bisping. And what Bisping showcases in this fight and what he brings into this fight will be pretty much a striking style, right? More of a variety of kickboxing skills. He's pretty good with his hands. He's a left-handed fighter, I believe, but he fights in orthodox. He's really good with that left hook of his, especially coming around punches and around the guard of his opponent. He's good with jabs as well. And he's good with catching people with the right cross, like you saw in the GSP fight a couple times. He's good in the clinch. He throws a lot of knees in the clinch. He's active in the clinch in case it gets there, because Kelvin is a shorter fighter, so he's going to probably want to cover that distance. And Bisping could use the clinching advantage where he could just drive in knees, throw in elbows, and release and get away from Kelvin. He's also good with his kicks. He has a lot of dexterity, especially for high kicks, and sometimes he'll throw spinning heel kicks, like you saw in the Kung Lee fight, who was a smaller middleweight, such as Kelvin. And what we all know about Bisping is his takedown defense is amazing. And not only his takedown defense, but holding him down is even harder than that. GSP was able to do it, but then we're talking about GSP, probably the greatest takedown artist in UFC history. He had a hard time as well. He really struggled to take him down. And Kelvin might have a pretty hard time taking Bisping down. And then we go to Gastelum, and Gastelum is one of the better boxers in the division. You saw it in his Vitor fight, you saw it in his Weidman fight, and Weidman has never really been outstruck like that in boxing exchanges. And Kelvin showed to have a big advantage in the boxing. He was much faster, and he was able to cover that distance so well with his fluid movement. Him being smaller than his opponents, he's going to have that agile advantage that he probably didn't have at welterweight. And he also has really good power in this division. It carried over from welterweight. Actually, it seems like he has more power in this division. So that's a dangerous thing for Bisping. He's really good at mixing up his punches. He's fluid with his punches. He's good with combinations, especially ending every combination with that overhand left. He's really good with the jab. And the way he throws the jab, it's almost snapping his jab out there, whipping it out there. But he jumps in there with it, and his opponent likes to parry it, or they like to counter it, and he slips their punch and lands that left hand. Catches everybody with it. His leg kicks are pretty decent, especially inside leg kicks on orthodox fighters. That could be a big advantage in this fight, as Bisping will try to land that right hand down the middle when he's throwing the inside leg kick, and then he can look to counter Bisping. And also his wrestling is really good. Now, although we haven't seen it too much lately, offensively that is, it is there. We've seen it before. You've seen it in the Uriah Hall fight. You've seen it in many fights after that. He has really good offensive wrestling if he wants to go that route. But I can see him mixing it up with his boxing. And another thing about Gastelum is he has an incredibly good chin. Incredibly good. He is so durable. Even against middleweights like this, even against Weidman, he could take their punches pretty well. And he has pretty decent cardio. Now, we have seen him gas out in the past at welterweight, but then again, he had a very hard weight cut. He won't have any hard weight cuts here. So that won't hinder his cardio. So we haven't really seen where his cardio will be in middleweight, but it's something to take note of. So my prediction for the fight, I am going to go with Kelvin Gastelum. Now, this is not a landslide of a fight. I don't think Bisping has no chance. I actually think it's pretty close, especially with the skill and technique on the feet that Bisping has. But Bisping, as of late, he likes to move to his right a lot, because he fixed that mistake of moving to his left on orthodox fighters. So he's been moving naturally to his right. And that can get him caught against Kelvin by that left hand. And I don't see Bisping stopping the pressure of Kelvin. I don't see him actually catching him much, maybe with some body kicks. He could potentially land a head kick. For some reason, I could see Bisping landing a head kick on Kelvin, as Kelvin is trying to close that distance, trying to find his openings for his boxing. But I see Kelvin getting in there with that jab and landing that left hand and throwing combinations in there. Being too fast for Bisping. I see Bisping trying to get out of there, but I don't see him getting too far away from Kelvin. And I see Kelvin sticking on him. I really see the in and out movement. I see the agility of Kelvin being a big factor in this fight, and the power that he has when he springs in with that left hand. Now, Bisping does have a great chance of winning this fight. I can see him landing kicks behind his punches, throwing off Kelvin, keeping him at a distance, maybe throwing some teeps out there. But I don't think he has the power that Kelvin has, or that Kelvin has shown. If there's any knock on Bisping, it's his punching power, right? Of course he can knock anyone out, like you've seen in the Rockhold fight. But he doesn't have that natural power. He doesn't have that ability to just blow through his opponents with strikes and just create that wow factor, you know? Kelvin kind of has that at middleweight. So I'm going to go with Kelvin, and I'm going to go by a second or third round TKO. So that's my prediction, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe. For my next video, I'm going to break down one of the fights in this card, so be on the lookout for that. And I have some other ideas coming out after that. There's not going to be a podcast next week, so they'll leave more room for other content. So don't worry about that. And guys, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Even if you don't celebrate it, if you're not in the United States or anything like that, I'm still thankful for all you guys. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to watch this card if you can. I know it's really early. I know it's at a different kind of time. But this is a very interesting main event, and it's one that you can't really miss. And I'll see you in the next video.